If you are a business owner looking to grow, scale, and monetize your business using the power of social media, you need to be using the power of showing up in your stories and using the power of storytelling. And so, before you can even dive into telling stories, you first need to make sure you understand who exactly your audience is, what is their specific pain point, deep pain point that keeps them up at night, and what is the end goal and result and outcome that they're looking to achieve. And you, as the coach, are looking to get them from A, where they currently are, to B, their end goal and destination. And you are filling in that gap with your expertise in specific frameworks and roadmap to help them get there. And so I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. And so the key is to create more stories that sell in 4 easy steps. And it's called stories for a reason. Instagram stories, TikTok stories, anywhere you're doing and using stories, you should be telling stories, not reposting your whole carousel timeline or reposting your post and then that's it, and not going into the value and the education behind that piece of content and why it's valuable for your audience. Or there's those people who just share quotes from other people's pages. So you're just sharing other people's content all the time versus actually taking the time to share your specific offer. And so when you are telling stories, remember, facts tell, stories sell. And when you're telling a story, you really want to connect with your audience. And just imagine, you're out of going to a presentation and all they do is just throw stats at you and numbers, and it's boring and you're snoring and you're now yawning like, oh my gosh, when is this over? Versus when someone tells you a story where you feel like you're there, you can, if they're talking about being at the beach, I walked into the beach and the softness of the sand and the sun kissing my skin and the waves of the ocean gently hit, uh, caressing my toes. You can start picturing yourself there at the beach, feeling the sun, feeling the sand on your feet, and feeling the water. So that was just an example, but ideally, you just want to be telling a story to your audience where they can literally imagine themselves as if they're already at their end goal. That's the goal. When you're telling a story and you're talking about your offer, you want to place your ideal client in their ideal outcome as if it's real, it's already happening and it's attainable. And they can be like, oh my gosh, this can really happen for me. And this is how you're going to do that. So, one, you want to make sure you're asking questions. So, example, have you ever felt like, and specifically in Instagram, you can conduct story polls, which we're going to dive into with examples of how to do that. But for me, when I was in fitness, have you ever felt like you just don't know what to do when it comes to moving your body? So you don't go to the gym. You're unsure what to eat, and you really think you need to give up carbs because you feel like if you eat carbs, it's going to make you fat. Well, I'm here to tell you that's not the truth. But when you're asking that question, you do a poll. So, like, yes, yes, no, or that's me, or I don't even know where to start. And when people are responding to you in your polls, you actually have an invitation to now go and have a conversation with them in the DM directly. Learn what they're struggling with, learn what their goals are, and then basically invite yourself like, hey, I have this. If you would find this helpful, can I share more information with you? And they're like, yeah, sure. That's them. And now inviting you to maybe join your list, maybe opt into your freebie, maybe join your group, or maybe opt into a low ticket offer and so forth. But essentially, you're building that connection, you're building that relationship, and ultimately that's leading to that trust. When you have that trust, that can lead eventually to a sale. So, number two, and the next is you want to paint a picture. Imagine life, how life would be if you knew exactly what to do in the gym. You felt energized because you're now nourishing your body with the proper fuel, XYZ. Or imagine if you're no longer scrolling frustrated about what content create because you have a specific attraction marketing strategy that's working for you on the background. So if you choose not to show up for a couple days, your content is still doing the selling for you. So again, that's imagine painting that picture inside your ideal client's mind. And then three, before and after. That's when you share your specific story or a client story. I remember when I was constantly yo-yo dieting, binge eating, possibly starving myself. Well, no, actually starving myself because I just wanted to drop the weight. I needed to drop the weight and I just wanted it off. And then it came to a point where I actually discovered that I can still enjoy carbs. I don't have to do 2 hours of cardio. And when I started lifting weights, I started actually seeing the muscle and the fat drop off. That's just an example. Or I remember when I was only posting trending reels because I thought that's what I needed to do. And then when I actually started to take the time to share my story and create content in a way that is speaking directly to my audience, a lot of my content started doing the selling for me. And now clients are asking, where do I sign up? So telling a story via your before and after. And then lastly, you always want to make sure to have a call to action. So the way you're going to get to a conversion is by actually telling your audience exactly what to do. So first you want to share some testimonials from your clients or yourself, share graphics about what's inside your offer, speaking directly to them, share your offer specifically, and also switch it up. So when I say switch it up, if you have a story and it's like story, 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 and you're talking, especially with Instagram, you now can talk for up to a minute. You don't want to use the whole minute, okay? Unless it's specific to the strategy. And when I say specific to the strategy, just like you have a specific content strategy, and if you don't, you should, where you know exactly why you're posting this piece of content, who specifically you're talking to, and what is the desired outcome that you're looking to achieve from this piece of content. That's how you want to look at your stories. Okay, what is the purpose of the stories that I'm going to share today? Ideally, you're going to have your stories framed around the piece of content that you just posted, especially if you have a specific call to action. If your call to action was to nurture, maybe your story that day is just nurturing and getting to know your audience. If your call to action was to grow, maybe your story that day is to promote growth. If your call to action was to promote or sell, that is specifically when you will use the strategy that we're going to continue to talk about right now. And if so far you're finding value, make sure to comment story in the chat to learn more about an upcoming challenge that will be presented in the coming weeks. And if you're finding this valuable for me to go ahead and create more content just like this. So let me go ahead and dive back in. So once you do have that call to action, now you tie it all together. And again, you want to switch it up. So instead of just a talking head, maybe you have a graphic, then you do a poll, then you do a testimonial, and then you do a talking head versus tons of talking heads. Have you ever been on Instagram where you see like all the little tickers on the top and it's just way, 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 way too many? You're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to scroll off. Okay. You don't want that. So here are some examples. So anytime you do post, you do want to share your post in your feed. So this specific post, I was talking about the 3 frameworks of selling my offers. And then I showed here framework 1, framework 2, framework 3. And as you see, framework 1 is storytelling, then problem awareness, then shifting perspective. And I was like, hey, take a screenshot. But then what I did next, instead of just posting and ghosting in your stories like that, which some people do, you now ask questions. You know, how often are you sharing content? Are you using stories to sell? How often are you using call to action? And then people will give you their feedback. And when someone responds to feedback, that is an invitation for you to go now and have a conversation with them in the DM. Okay. So far, if you're picking this up, how many of you are actually going to go like, oh my gosh, I'm going to start using this strategy. I'm going to share my post and then start asking questions. Okay. Raise your hand. Next, once you asked, now you want to paint a picture. So you ask the question, now you're painting the picture. And so specifically for me, I was talking about how, I used to not know how to necessarily do content, but imagine if you had a done for you content strategy where you know exactly what to post, you know how to sell in your stories, and you're creating more content with ease. And then I give an example. This is an example of how I started my page from scratch and I've organically grown, attracting my ICA. So there's a couple ways you can grow. I've seen pages where they grow to hundreds and thousands of followers fast. But guess what? They're not really promoting or talking about anything specifically, and they're only focusing on viral content, which you can do that. But if you're looking to sell and have a business, you don't need 100,000 followers. You just need a couple hundred not even a couple 100,000. You just need a couple of thousand genuine people. Because imagine if you had 2,000 followers, but 500 of them were paying you your high ticket price point. That's all you need. Okay. And so that's what you want to focus on. So I'm painting the picture, and then I'm showing an example of how I'm always selling my content. If I'm not selling directly, I'm always having a call to action. And with that call to action, you see here, someone actually commented. Okay. The call to action was comment, attract to learn how or learn more. Someone commented, attract, reach out to the DM that led into a conversion. And that's the key consistency, but always ask. And then example before and afters. So I ask some questions, I paint the picture, and then I share social proof of myself, but also of clients from working within my program of using money making messaging, that method. Before, low views, low conversions, after high views, high conversions, high engagement. Before, she wasn't posting content, she didn't have really a content strategy, and now she just closed her first $3,800 client. Same with this client here. Before, no, not a real strategy. Her covers were all over the place. She started implementing specific covers, specific hooks and titles and captions with call to actions, and her page has grown. She's seeing better conversions, she's seeing higher engagement and sales. And so through that, now you show what is inside your offer. So this is an example. So I'm sharing, hey, what is inside money making messaging? This is what you get along with when you join Instagram Monetization Accelerator. You get XYZ plus so much more, plus an all-in-one CRM, plus XYZ. And so they visually can see and picture themselves, oh my gosh, I need weekly time-saving content ideas, or I need a macro blueprint that is exactly telling me what to eat for my body type. Or I need to understand how to wake up in the morning and have a solid routine. Whatever it is that you offer, you want to plug that in here. And the next, you would share more social proof. So maybe more testimonials or screenshots of what people are saying. I'm sharing my specific social proof of, hey, this is how I achieved 15K in a week from using this exact strategy. And then specific call to actions. And so with call to actions in your Instagram stories, you can actually use the link tab. But what I recommend using is a poll or telling people to comment. Reason being, you cannot track that link. You don't know who clicked it, how long they clicked it, did it go anywhere? But when you do polls and tell people to comment, which is a direct DM message, you can now have a conversation. You know exactly who was interested in specifically what you're offering. And so as you see here, comment, convert, and I'll send you the link. Or do you want to learn how to create stories that sell? Would you love a done for you content strategy? Yes, I need this. Or no, I'm okay doing manual work. And that's the key call to action. So to recap, you want to make sure you're asking questions. You want to make sure you're painting a picture. You want to share before and afters, and always, always, always use call to actions. And the key is consistency. So it's not like you have to do that every single day, but the more often you do it, the more and higher you're going to have conversions. And I'm not saying you need to post daily. The key is to post and show up in your stories on the days that you do post. So I'm currently offering a stories that sells challenge. So if you know that you've been struggling to show up in your stories and you're the type of person who shares other people's content and posts, or you're the type of person who just shares the post that you made that day and that's it, then this stories that sells challenge is for you. You'll specifically be giving exact templates for the stories that you can create for your audience with templates. And then you can ask questions like, hey, I'm struggling with this, or hey, can you review this? What are your thoughts? Or if you need specific feedback, you will want to join the Stories That Sells Challenge. Literally done for you content ideas so you can take the guesswork out of it. And when you start practicing more, you'll become more comfortable and it will become natural for you. And that is why Stories That Sells challenges for you. So go ahead and comment story before below to access or click the link. And again, if you have any questions, let me know. But I hope you found this valuable. We will be going live every Wednesday at 1 p.m. on Instagram, 2 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube. And so I'll see you guys in the next video. Talk soon.